Is the Ukraine war extending dangerously into neighboring states, and will it explode in the Baltic states? Just have a look at what's happening. Latvia, a Baltic state which is also a member of NATO, has just ordered reinforcements on its Belarus and Russian border. Belarus, as we already know, is a key Russian ally, and it has become an alternative site for Russian nuclear weapons. And the famous or infamous Wagner troops have now been sent there after their rebellion against Moscow. Already in a heightened state of alert, Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia are also strengthening their border forces amid fears in the region that Putin might not stop at Ukraine. And tonight on Gravitas, we zoom into Latvia, Estonia and Lithuania and tell you why tensions are rising in the suddenly dangerous Baltics. All three Baltic states, by the way, won their independence from Russia after the crash of the Soviet Union. Could we now see the beginning of a new chapter in this conflict? Let's start off with Latvia, the country that borders Russia and Belarus. Latvia is scrambling its forces to the border as I speak. Their border guard officers have been recalled from their holidays to help with patrols. The move comes as a response to what is being described as hybrid threats facing the country. Just a quick backgrounder here. The reason why the Latvian government last week announced an enhanced security regime was because of a disproportionately large number of cases of illegal crossings in the area. Since the start of the year, the Latvian government has registered nearly 6,000 attempts to illegally cross the Belarusian border. Who is behind pushing people into Latvia is the immediate question. The Latvian authorities accused neighboring Belarus of being involved in organizing the flow of people across Latvia's borders. Many of these say they are asylum seekers and refugees. But then, who can be certain of anything in the confusion of war? And due to these hybrid threats, the Latvian armed forces and police have also been summoned to border duties. In fact, its defense minister has ordered the army to deploy additional forces to the border. Latvia shares a border of about 172 kilometers or 106 miles with Belarus. The president of Belarus, Alexander Lukashenko, is a very close ally of the Russian leader, Vladimir Putin, has been accused of playing a provocative game, in fact, with refugees from crisis-hit regions of the world, sending them across Latvia's border. Now, let's just look at Lithuania. The country will close 2 of its 6 border crossings with Belarus this week. This is being called a preventive measure aimed at controlling threats to national security, as well as possible provocation at the border. And the reason, by the way, is specific: the threat from Wagner mercenaries. Lithuanian media reports saying that the border closures could indicate complete closure of the border with Belarus in the future. Several media reports saying that Baltic countries as well as Poland are discussing the possibility of completely closing their borders with Belarus. According to the Lithuanian State Border Guard Services, around 4,500 Wagner mercenaries are currently stationed in Belarus. And the government of Lithuania is also buying the coveted German Leopard 2 tanks as part of a military build-up. Vilnius will buy as many as 54 Leopard 2s in order to bolster its ground forces with a new tank battalion that would be a part of a division-sized unit. Now, it's not clear just how quickly the new tanks could be delivered, but it is part of the cooperation between the NATO states in response to a direct military threat. Let's also look at another Baltic nation, Estonia. Border restrictions on the country's eastern borders with Russia has been increased. Estonia's defense needs are being met by a British fighting force deployed outside its borders, but exercising in Estonia often, and it is ready to come in at short notice if needed. Earlier this year, the NATO conducted a major military exercise here. It involved US troops, British Marines, French paratroopers, across the Baltics and Europe, the NATO is reinforcing its defenses. The message from the NATO is clear. At short notice, NATO can deploy fast. Since the war started in February 2022, the bloc has added thousands of troops to its eastern flank. The US-led military alliance is also scaling up the deployments to the Baltic countries. Germany, Canada, Britain have battle groups, by the way, of about 1,000 troops in Estonia, Latvia and Lithuania, respectively, to act as a tripwire in case of a Russian attack. The reinforcements have been ramped up. On the other side of the confrontation, the Wagner Group has also started training Belarusian soldiers. Lukashenko believes his troops have a lot to learn from these Russian mercenaries. Last month, NATO adopted a new anti-Russia defense plan. This new defense plan has a special focus on Baltic nations. In what is being described as the most comprehensive defense plan since the end of the Cold War, NATO plans to enhance its deterrence measures. It will send additional forces to the Baltics and Eastern Europe. Battle groups comprising 1,000 soldiers are to support the national armies of the Baltic states and Poland. The UK will be responsible for Estonia, Canada for Latvia. Germany will also send a brigade of 4,000 soldiers to Lithuania, while America will be responsible for Poland. And according to an annual report published by Estonian Foreign Intelligence Service in February, Russia would consider Baltic states to be the most vulnerable part of NATO. They see the region, in fact, as a focal point of military pressure for Moscow in the eventuality of a NATO-Russia conflict. So in addition to boosting its border security, Latvia and Estonia are also planning to jointly procure Germany's Iris-T air defense system. The medium-range missile systems will, they say, bolster their capabilities. The Baltic states have also requested the forces deployed are beefed up to 3,000 to 5,000 troops in each state. They have also requested extra air defenses and asked that warplanes that patrol their airspace become a fighting force. Estonia and Latvia will also provide their respective air bases to receive and host allied fighters, command planes and surveillance aircraft. A resurgent NATO is set to tighten its grip on the Baltic Sea. And the aim here is simple: complicating a vital transit route for Vladimir Putin's navy in Russia's backyard. After all, the Russian enclave of Kaliningrad, sandwiched between Lithuania and Poland, is home to Russia's Baltic fleet. The armed forces of all sides are battle-ready. Nerves are tense, to say the least. A single accident can create a conflagration. That is the last thing that the region and the world needs right now. Our next story is about MBS, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. He will be visiting the United Kingdom. This will be his first visit to the country in 5 years. And reports say the trip is set to take place around October or November. It's part of a wider Western push to re-establish ties with Saudi Arabia. You see, since 2018, Mohammed bin Salman has been largely boycotted by Western states, primarily over the murder of the Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi. 5 years later, things seem to be changing. This is what a UK government source apparently told Times UK. Let me quote: "The invitation has been extended to the Saudis and discussions about the nature of the trip are ongoing. There is desire here to make it happen by the end of the year, but ultimately the timing is up to the Saudis." Next question: what will this visit be all about? What kind of meetings will the Saudi Crown Prince attend? Reports say his visit includes a proposed meeting with King Charles. The visit will further include talks on defense deals, investment opportunities, investments aimed at countering the impact of Brexit. You see, ever since Brexit, The UK has been keen to secure a trade deal with the Gulf Cooperation Council, of which Saudi Arabia is a major player. And this visit could lay the groundwork for that deal. As for Saudi Arabia, it is also trying to court the UK for a vote in an upcoming ballot for the 2030 World Expo. It is scheduled for November, and Saudi Arabia is trying to win the support of as many countries as possible. So this visit is significant for both countries. For Saudi Arabia, it could cement the Crown Prince's return to the international fold. And for Rishi Sunak, it could serve as a distraction from his domestic troubles. The British Prime Minister is in the eye of a storm, yet again, especially due to some remarks that he made recently. Last week, he attended a business event where he was asked about inflation in the country. And defending his government's response, he said, and I'm quoting, "A typical family will have had about half their energy bills paid for by the government over the past several months. That's worth $1,500 to a typical family." Now, you would not have quite seen that because you would have still just got your energy bill. It would have been very high, but what you would not have realized, maybe, is that before that even happened, $1,500 had been topped off and the government had covered it. No one quite understands the scale of what we have done. I repeat, no one quite understands the scale of what we have done. And this one remark has landed him in trouble, a lot of it. His critics are calling him insensitive, especially the Liberal Democrats. They are calling him out of touch. Let me just quote a statement by the party's Cabinet Office spokesperson. Sunak's comments are woefully out of touch. Does he expect the public to give the Conservative Party a pat on the back for crashing the economy and adding hundreds of pounds a month to the people's mortgages? He just does not get it. Interestingly, this is not the first time he has faced such a charge. In the past as well, he has been accused of being out of touch, ignorant to the common man's actual struggles. Take this article from the Metro, for instance. It says anyone expecting genuine understanding from Rishi Sunak would be let down. That he isn't only out of touch, but on a different planet. This was primarily over Sunak's decision to stick to his budget plan. So at a time like this, we wonder if a visit by the Saudi Crown Prince is really going to help the leader's case. Let's now talk about China's missing minister. Where is Qin Gang? What happened to him? Is he dead or alive? The world has been asking these questions for over 2 months now. Yet the mystery remains unresolved. And all that we have is a host of speculation, various conjectures on his personal life, zesty rumors on his covert means of functioning and his allegedly corrupt practices. And they have permeated every discourse about his whereabouts. And why wouldn't they? I mean, he wasn't just any other person. He previously served as China's ambassador to the United States, and then he was appointed China's Minister for Foreign Affairs. Some, in fact, say that Xi Jinping personally picked him for the post. And then one fine day, he just disappears into thin air. He was last seen on the 25th of June, 17th of August now. 53 days later, no one knows where he is. So we at WION decided to seek some answers. We interviewed Terrell Jones, a political journalist who has extensively covered China and interviewed Qin Gang several times. We asked him about Gang's unceremonial disappearance and how common it is for Chinese ministers to go missing like this. Here's what he told us.
Well, it's certainly not unprecedented for senior Chinese officials to be purged or to be taken out of their positions However, this particular case is especially unusual because the official Qin Gang was quite young, but had a very meteoric rise. He was promoted very quickly from the foreign ministry positions to ambassador to the US, which is obviously a crucial position in Chinese foreign policy. But after only 18 months in that job, promoted to foreign minister, head of the foreign ministry, makes it seem apparent that he was close to Xi Jinping, the president, and handpicked to be someone in a very prominent position in the future.
And we also asked Mr. Jones about whether the US-China rivalry had something to do with Qin Gang's disappearance, or whether it had to do something with his equation with the Chinese president, given how he personally picked him. Did things go sour between the two? Here's what he told us.
The US-China relationship is one of extremely close partnership and one of extremely antagonistic competition. In Chinese leadership today, if you are for better relations with the United States, that can put you on a good track with some Chinese officials and leaders, and not with other leaders. It's difficult to say, which side Qin was on, or could it be something more purely internal, such as many Chinese officials always worry, who is after my job, or who is a threat to me? And so he may have represented a threat to certain factions, or perhaps even the man who was his predecessor as foreign minister.
Now, here's the thing. The disappearance of the Chinese foreign minister may have generated a torrent of speculation, but there is nothing new about this. You see, the Chinese regime has always been opaque. It has a history of officials and public figures being sacked and then going missing mysteriously. Just take the case of Hu Jintao, Xi Jinping's predecessor as the General Secretary of the CCP, the most powerful position in China. At the closing ceremony of the 20th Party Congress in October 2022, Hu was led out of the Great Hall of the People in full view of the journalists. Now, the official explanation was that Hu had suffered from a sudden and brief spell of ill health. Many observers suspected that the real reason was political. And since then, Hu Jintao has only been seen once. Reports say he has been purged from the echelons of power. And then we have Jack Ma, one of China's most successful and well-known billionaires. In November 2020, he disappeared. Right before his disappearance, he had given a speech criticizing China's financial regulators. Interestingly, Ma resurfaced 3 months later, but he seemed subdued. And since then, he has kept a low profile. And there's more. Guo Guangchang, the chairman of Fosun International, a conglomerate that also owns a football club, by the way. He went missing in the year 2015. He was reportedly detained over a corruption investigation. And since then, he has not been seen in public that often. And by the way, it's not just politicians and business people who are at the risk of falling foul of the authorities. In July 2018, the megastar actor Fan Bingbing suddenly disappeared from social media and public appearances. This fueled rumors that she had fled China or was under house arrest. And she reappeared nearly a year later, having been fined about $96.2 million for tax evasion. So if we just go by these instances, Qin Gang is perhaps also being kept hidden deliberately. He is probably being subjected to some grilling by the Chinese authorities. Grilling over what exactly, we probably will never find out. Our next story is about something that's present all around us, and is now, unfortunately, finding its way inside our bodies. And it's alarming to say the least. I'm talking about plastic, more specifically microplastics. First of all, what are they? Microplastics are tiny plastic particles. How tiny? Plastics less than 5 millimeters in diameter, basically. And there are two categories, primary and secondary. Primary microplastics are designed for commercial use. Secondary microplastics, as the name suggests, are the result of the breakdown of larger plastic items. Microplastics wreak havoc in various ways. They are consumed by marine life. They can be lethal. In fact, scientists have found 10,000 times more microplastics on the seafloor than in contaminated surface waters. And they are a serious health concern. And they are making their presence felt in multiple ways, dangerous ways. Have a look at this study. According to the study published in the journal Environmental Science and Technology, microplastics were found in the hearts of human beings undergoing cardiac surgery. For the first time, you heard that right, microplastics in the human heart. They were detected in samples of tissue from the heart. Earlier, microplastics were detected in human breast milk. The samples, remember, were taken from 34 healthy mothers. This was a week after they gave birth. Microplastics were found in 75% of them. In the year 2020, microplastic particles were revealed in the placentas of unborn babies for the first time. Researchers call that a matter of great concern. I could go on, but you get the point here. The presence of microplastics in our environment makes human exposure inevitable. The question is, are we taking this seriously enough? We've all seen visuals of marine animals getting entangled in plastic, suffocating on plastic items. And these latest studies on the presence of microplastics in the human body is a whole new chapter in this horror tale. Microplastics are not a micro problem. They are a major menace, and it's high time we took the impact of plastic pollution seriously. WION now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the updates on the move.